Happy New Year, and welcome to 21st Century Vitalism, a podcast exploring how we can best maintain a sense of energy, inspiration, and wakefulness while living in this strange and potent time. My name's Brett, and I'll be your host on this journey as we meet some incredible humans who are fully applying themselves to these principles. And it's my hope that this platform can be used as a directory of sorts for different ideas and views to help us live more engaged and embodied lives. With that said, though, I do want to acknowledge that some of the topics and themes covered in this show might have an air of privilege surrounding them, in that you often need a surplus of energy to really access them completely. And this can be difficult while dealing with the demands of our modern lives. It's not an uncommon feature to find ourselves feeling a sense of entrapment within our routines. And this feeling of stuckness, while it can start off subtly over time, might boil over into a full fledged depression or other manifestation of discontent. Regardless of what the causes are, being in that state over time can wreak havoc on our ability to show up to the commitments we make to ourselves and to others. Our energies get scattered, our aspirations become foggy, and we downshift ourselves into a survival mode. And this makes it incredibly hard to open to life and to express ourselves clearly and with intention. And that's why I felt that it was important to take a moment to address this stuckness in a candid way. And in order to do this, I invited my friend Mike Chang to come back onto the show. For longtime listeners, you may recognize Mike as my very first guest. He's incredibly well known in the fitness world for his starter program, Six Pack Shortcuts, and more recently, his Flow 60 training regimen. The latter is an excellent combination of strength training, meditation, yoga, self massage, and emotional upliftment through physical movement. I'm often recommending his platform to folks who are new to maintaining disciplines and are looking for a well rounded program to explore their bodies and minds. So, in this conversation, we dive deep into the subtleties of what it means to be in a rut, from its effect on our physical bodies and energy to our minds and emotions. We go through a very simple process of how you can climb out of that situation and set yourself up for a new path in life. And I think this is a really timely episode as we stare down the next 365 days together, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So if you are feeling inspired by this conversation, please consider checking out Mike's platform at flow60.com. He has a new program starting on January 25th, as well as some free introductory routines that are available on YouTube, one of which was the one that got me consistent in my daily practices. If you want to support this show, you can subscribe over at patreon.com/21st Century Vitalism, or maybe send me a one-time donation over at Venmo at Brett-Kane-1. Sharing this episode and following us on social medias is also a huge help, and I see it every time you do it, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It really means a lot. Without any further ado, I want to invite you to kick back, maybe do some stretches, drink some tea, but most importantly, open your heart for the ever-inspiring Mike Chang. Okay, heck yeah, we are now live. Mike, hello, welcome back to the show. It is so good to have you.
Yeah, it's welcome. It's great to be back, man. 65 episodes later, man. Here we are.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how the twists and turns of life, interweave and how different paths. I mean, a lot has happened both in my life and in yours, paying attention. So congratulations on starting your little family there. You got a
Ah,
child
yes.
and yeah.
Yeah. He's 8 months old, crawling around, and he's mobile now. And so my wife and I are more alert. He's not just laying on his back crying. He can travel places now.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
nice experience.
Yeah, every step of that journey, I'm sure, is just like a new spectrum of different fears and observations, and just like, okay, we have to baby proof now. That's a vibe. So,
Yes, we were prepared for that a couple months ago. So
yeah,
yeah,
yep,
just going with the flow.
love
It's
it.
It's interesting how the way um, the things that I help my students with, we apply the same thing in the way that we raise our son. There's no
Yeah.
different, treating this human versus treating an adult. It's all the same principles.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and I'm sure that is going to probably interweave with our conversation later on down in this hour, because there's a lot of really juicy things in there that I think are applicable to everybody, not even just parents. But yeah, today, we're at the crest of the new year, and I thought it'd be a really important thing to take a moment to address the folks who tune into my conversation here on cultivating vitality and energy, and who might be feeling like a little put out because it's not their actual lived experience. And, I'm really speaking to the people who have found themselves in a certain life situation that could be described as a rut. We're all familiar with that energy where you just wake up, 10 years have gone by, and it's like, oh man, I might not be where I want to be in life. I thought I made every right decision along the way, but I'm feeling really unhappy. My health has kind of gotten away from me. I'm in and out of depression. I don't even know what diet means anymore. I work at a job which might be financially stabilizing, but isn't fulfilling me. So I don't really have a sense of direction or meaning. And I thought that you'd be a really wonderful voice on how we could potentially break through this really condensed energy that has so much momentum to it. It can sometimes feel impossible to even get on top or even know where to start. It's just like, the entire thing is screwed up. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was wondering, describing some of these characteristics of just this thick kind of momentum of just dissatisfaction in every aspect. Like, where would you find your entryway in something like that?
I think the first step is to not make it worse, because when somebody's in that situation, um, they tend to mentally kind of beat themselves up. Man, I should be much farther along. My friend is doing this. The people that I know are accomplishing that, and I am not where I want to be. And that complaining and blaming, all the mental dialogue, that puts us deeper in a rut. We already aren't where we want to be in life, but now we have that that double whammy. So letting go of the idea of having to kind of be mean to ourselves, give ourselves a break, realize something that's really helped me out is realize that our life goes in cycles, that there are times that we're going to be really busy and things are going to happen, and they're going to be really great. And then there's times to where it's not going to be. Now, we all like to believe that we are in control of our life because we are such powerful beings. And yet, when we really take a look, we have a sense of control, but we are not really in control. And when we can accept the idea that life happens and things that are happening right now are supposed to happen the way they've happened, and that nothing is wrong with life. Yes, I do feel stuck, and yes, this is where I'm at, and those places is where I want to go, and this is what I want to accomplish. It doesn't mean that I'm not in the place I'm supposed to be at right now. Because what this does is this creates a sense of acceptance of where a person is at, and that plays a massive role because they stop fighting on the inside. And when we stop fighting ourselves, now we can actually put our attention to, well, what actually needs to happen to get me out of this. But before that first step is, let me stop fighting myself, because it's not going to help me. It's like, if I want to go and do this thing, but I'm attacking myself at the same time, it really logically doesn't make sense. And it really is energetically exhausting. And so once we stop doing that, we can come to acceptance. Okay, this is where I'm at. There's no point in complaining over spilled milk, so to speak. Now, what do I need to do? Number one, I need to go ahead and activate some energy. I need to activate some energy. At this point, whoever is in a rut, their energy is not activated. They don't feel energized. Their mind is not in this expansive type of state, which happens when we have a lot of energy flowing through our body. Our body doesn't feel light, it feels heavy. We don't feel good, we feel pressure. And so we need to go and activate the energy. So now, how do we activate energy? So let's look at the most fundamental three things. Number one, am I getting enough movement? Now, as you know, Brett, I teach a practice, the Flow 60 practice, where I teach people how to move and how to activate their energy and do all these things. Now, however, I am a firm believer that doing something is better than doing nothing. So if somebody likes this practice that I teach, awesome. Go try it out. Go do it. But what happens if they just like going for a swim? What happens if they enjoy going for a walk? What if they like to, go for a bike ride? Then my suggestion is get out there and start moving your body. Now let's go and activate some energy. So now when this energy is starting to circulate, naturally a person starts to feel better. Their mind starts to become a little more expansive. And what's actually happening there is that when a person's in a rut, they're emotionally stressed, their energy is stuck, and the mind is seen through this lenses of stress and fear and worry and all this stuff. And they can't get away from this lens, not unless they change the energy. So when they get up and they start to move, they allow that lenses to go away. And even though not all movements are equal, different movements create different effects in the body. But again, movement is better than no movement. So don't worry too much about the details. Get up and start to move and do something that you enjoy so you can do it every day. So now this person's doing that and they're feeling better. They're having a slight shift in their outlook of life. They start to go from all I pay attention is problems and all I have is these struggles and I am just so stuck. They start to go, maybe I can make a change. Maybe there's this opportunity I can kind of go for. Maybe I can actually, do something about it instead of just feeling very overwhelmed and stuck. This is happening because the energy is moving. The lenses in their mind from all of this stuck emotions is starting to come down. And that's number one, movement, right? Without diving too much into all of the details, I just want to keep it really simple because I want the listeners to be able to apply. I don't want to keep it really complicated. Simple. Get up and move, okay? Yeah. Number two, you're eating. Now, a lot of times, people associate eating clean, nutrition, all of this stuff, they associate to weight loss, they associate to having a great body, and they associate it to general health. Now, I want to give somebody another reason on why they need to take care of their eating. When you don't eat clean food for your body, when you don't give your body the right nutrition in the right amounts, your mind gets very, very clogged. And when your mind gets clogged, your energy gets blocked, and now you can't get out of a rut, or you will put yourself into a rut. And so then let's go ahead and start eating better. Now, there are so many diets out there. So instead of giving suggestions on diets, here's something I would suggest, because I don't know what this person's goals are, how their body type is, what their history is, but there are some really, really simple ways to look at eating. And this is universal. This is why I like to look at it this way. The universal thing. Number one, whatever you're eating, how do you feel from what you're eating? Does your body feel good, or, right, Brett? I mean, it's I don't know what you're putting in your body, but, we can pretty much all agree that if you eat something that makes your stomach hurt, it's probably not the best for you, right?
Yeah.
That's not
hard to. Yeah, it's hard to differentiate for some people because sometimes things can taste really good and you can have this really rich experience, this decadent, like, oh man, it's like a really sensational experience, but then it's like 20, 30, 40 minutes after, then you start to feel that wave, and almost feel like sometimes people put more value into like that sensational experience of eating something tasty, and then they can just like pay the tax of feeling like garbage after, and how we value those two different things.
Yes, and also sometimes people will will learn about healthy foods, and they will say, I'm going to try this because I heard it was healthy, but then they eat it and their stomach doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
and they don't listen to their stomach because they go, well, so and so said it was healthy, or this place said it was healthy, and that's the thing is there are so many things that are labeled as healthy, but let our body be the judge of it. Let our
Mm-hmm.
body actually let us know if it's healthy. And it's really simple. If it feels good in your body, there's a chance that's good for you. If it doesn't, well, it's obvious.
Yeah.
So that's really simple, right? So then another thing when it comes to feeling good, that means digestion, bloatedness. Bloatedness used to be like a normal thing for me. Every time I eat, I get bloated,
Mm-hmm.
and I never knew the reason why. Now I realize, well, the body needs to digest the food that we eat. And if you're eating something that doesn't digest really well, then we're kind of missing the point of eating, right? That the body needs to digest it and needs to go and break it down so it can utilize it. But if it has problems breaking down the food, then your body's trying to tell you that you need to eat something different.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the combination of foods that you're eating. Maybe you're just eating too much, and that pours
That's
into the
me.
third thing. It's been me for many years.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's not that much to change, besides just eating a little bit less. So when we do these things, naturally our energy starts to flow, our mind becomes more clear, and now we are able to get out of the rut because we can see different options. Because when we're in that rut and our energy is blocked, we literally can't see the options out there. It's like, it's not that they don't exist, we just can't see it, right?
Yeah.
Is our perspective isn't dialed in to become aware of it, and now we're actually able to see it. There's something also called being confident with ourselves, having self-belief. People
Mm-hmm.
think this is a trained thing. This is not just a trained thing. When our energy is blocked, naturally we start to feel stress, worry, fear. And when we feel stress, worry, fear, it doesn't allow us to be very confident, nor to
Yeah.
believe that we can do something. And vice versa. When our energy is more open and circulating, we don't feel those things, and therefore naturally we become more confident. Naturally we believe in ourselves, which is really important to get out of being in this rut and start to take action and move forward with our life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that you bring up that element, that confidence is almost like a symptom of like making the right choices rather than this thing you have to like fake it till you make it. I think there might be like something beneficial of that, of like trying to appropriate that state, but really it comes from like an accumulation of different effects coming together. That was actually something I was going to bring up too, is like the energy of confidence is, and how we can really cultivate that by not focusing on it directly, but everything else in our life. It's like tending to the soil that grows the flower of confidence.
Yes, and not to rabbit trail too much, but confidence is based on the energy in our body.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's based on the way we feel, because we can't touch energy, so therefore we can't see energy. So the way that we will interact with energy is through feeling.
Mm-hmm.
When we feel our body, we can feel the energy that exists inside. And
Yeah.
when we can feel our body, we connect to the mechanism, the device, the vehicle that can feel energy. All we have
Mm-hmm.
to do is connect to the body. And then now the body can feel energy that's inside, and the body can feel the energy of every person that we interact with, every living being, and situations, rooms, places. Our body has the mechanism to feel energy. All we have to do is connect to our body. Or in other words, remove the blockages that doesn't allow us to connect,
Mm-hmm.
which we would call feeling, right? Increased ability to feel, right? So food is a huge component that blocks our ability to feel. And everything that we pretty much put into our mouth right now, smoking, drinking, all these things. And, no judgment against all this stuff. I used to be really, really heavy on pretty much everything that's not good for you. So I know how it is. But those are things that stop us from feeling, therefore stop us from connecting to that energy, stops our mind from expanding. And confidence comes directly from that. I didn't realize this. I was just like everybody else. I wanted to be confident. I learned about how it means to be confident. Do this, do this, do this. Don't do that. Act this way in this situation, blah, blah. And, when I became confident, it had nothing to do with any of those things. I don't even remember exactly what they are now, nor do I care, because that's nothing to do with those things. It's like those things is like being an actor. That's like, let's be actors. Hey, this character acts in this way, so let's learn how to be that way and let's act that way. Well, great. You get really good at acting that way. But something else that people want besides confidence is they want to be themselves.
Yeah.
And you can't be yourself if you're, spontaneity. So coming back into the foundation, so far we've covered movement, right? We've covered nutrition. And then the last thing, which some of you guys would guess, sleep. You see, and just getting the sleep, allowing the body to rest, because the body doesn't rest, it gets stressed. The energy gets blocked because the actual flesh is overworked. It doesn't have a chance to rebuild. So the body's literally breaking down. And the body is the energetic container. It's the actual container that holds the energy that allows our mind to function, which then also is the mechanism that gets us to take action. If we have low willpower, it's because we have low energy. If we don't feel like doing something, it's because we have low energy and we have a closed mind, a mind that feels very, very stuck. So the way that we see things is, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And so these three foundational things, they are such a huge component. But when we start to look at it not as I want to be fit, and have a great body, or I want to get in shape, when we look at it for the intention of, I want to turn my life around. I want to get my mind, I want to get my body, and I want to get my emotions to be on point. Right? What does on point mean? My body, I want to feel peaceful. I want to feel energized. I want to feel strong. My emotions, I want to feel centered. My mind, I want to be clear. I want to be focused. I want to be decisive. Mm-hmm. I think everybody agrees that they want something along the lines of those things. And they can get those things if their energy in their body is vibrating at a high frequency, if it is circulating. Mm-hmm. And if it's blocked, the exact opposite happens. But if we look at it in the physiology standpoint, then it's blood. Right? Same thing. Let's have the blood do the same thing, circulate. And when the blood circulates, all the functions in the body are able to work properly, and vice versa. This has been one of the biggest things that I realized. Before, I didn't connect those dots. And when I realized that so much of our entire way of thinking, negative thoughts, when people have negative thoughts and they tell me, oh, all of these things are happening, here's all the drama, I ask them about these three things, and almost every one of those people, if not literally 100%, they fail to do these three. Their movement, it's off, it's random. Their nutrition, terrible. Sleep, off and on. But then instead of focusing on these things that is literally changing their state of mind, body, and emotion, instead of focusing on it, they look at the actual problems. They go, I want to fix this problem.
Yeah, you kind of cut out there for a moment. Yeah, so the last I heard, I don't know if it was Riverside or if it was your connection.
It cut out here as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Instead of looking at these things, instead of looking at their movement, their nutrition, their sleep, what actually affects their state of being, people instead look at the problems, thinking that I'm just going to try to fix the problems. And that's the thing. It doesn't work that way. This is why people repeatedly um, get in same situations. People will get stuck. They will get out of this rut, and then they'll find themselves back in a rut.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need to be in a rut. The only reason why we're in a rut is because our mind, our body, our emotions are not operating. Because if you think about it, everybody's got something they want to do, right? Everybody's got a goal, no matter if they believe in it or not, but they got a goal. They know they want something. They want their life to be a certain way. What stops a person from going after it?
Yeah.
You know, if we look at pets, if we look at like our dog and our cat, wouldn't it be strange if we realize that our cat wants to scratch itself, but it can't? It wants to jump over there, but it's doubting itself. You know, it's like a dog wants to chase, but it doesn't quite know. It wants to bark, but then it's, you know, it's self-conscious and it doesn't want to bark, and it finds itself in a, you know, in a situation. It would be kind of strange if our animals did that. Now, some animals actually do because they've been around humans too long. But if you look at animals out in the wild,
Yeah.
you know what? They do exactly what the heck they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as humans, we seem to struggle to do what we want.
Yeah.
It's such a strange thing when we look at it, right? We literally can't do what we want. But there's a really straightforward solution to this. That's the real thing. You know, when a person's able to do what they want, what's the problem? You don't have it, go get it, right? You don't like what's happening, go change it, right? We all have the capability to take action. People think it's about not knowing enough. People think it's about the lack of resources. I don't know the person. I don't know. It's not. It's none of these things. Everything that you lack, you can get. Everything that you haven't done, you can do. All the places that you haven't been to, you can go. There is nothing stopping a person besides their inability to do what they want.
Yeah.
You know, when we look at it that way, it becomes pretty clear that the change isn't about all this stuff on the outside. Those are just symptoms, right? Effects.
Mm-hmm.
It's really looking at the fundamental thing. How does a person actually do what they want? How do they go, I want this thing and I can take action on it, versus I want this thing and now I'm going to do it, but let me insert excuse on why I can't do it. Doesn't matter what the excuse is. It's infinite.
Well, it's safe. It's safe to not do the things you at least know what the outcome will be, which is more of the same. Whether or not that's uncomfortable or not, sometimes a lot of people prefer having some semblance of ground where what you're really advocating for is almost the sense of like that groundless spontaneity of like, I don't know who I'm going to be when I do this. Like, I'm going to end up someone new. There's a lot of fear because that kind of shines lights on the cracks of our entire structure of egohood, And I really like that you mentioned like the first thing you're like, just be gentle with yourself, And I really wanted to say that I think that there's an intelligence to being in a rut. Like the rut has in this primordial, it's like a barometer for whether or not the systems of your life are actually in accordance. So it's like being gentle, welcoming the rut to a degree of like, okay, you have something to teach me. There's something in my life that I'm not paying attention to, and my body has this wisdom to really reorient us toward like, all right, you have to make a different choice, you know? And I think that oftentimes we just try to avoid that very much because again, that shines that light of like, oh, I'm not living up to my potential. That's what it's the physiology of not living up to your potential.
Mm. You know, sometimes we may believe that in order to move forward in our life, in order to go do the things we want to do, it's supposed to feel good. And that if it doesn't feel good, something is up. Maybe what we're doing is not right. And I have this conversation very often with students, And the thing is, it's not supposed to feel good.
Yeah.
It's life is not always supposed to feel good. I think people have this idea that the outcome the outcome of the way they feel should either feel good or something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true.
Yeah.
When we are trying to pick and choose how we like to feel, what we're basically saying is that everything in life is supposed to make us feel good, and that if it doesn't feel good, then something is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if we look at it, what doesn't make us feel good? When we see somebody on the street hurt on the street, does that make us feel good? Probably not, right? If we see one of our loved ones hurt, right, being taken advantage of, is that supposed to make us feel good? Nope. When somebody in our life dies that's close to us, that doesn't feel good either. When a country is in war and many people are dying, that doesn't feel good, right? When we see innocent animals dying, suffering because of some natural cause or because of our cause, it doesn't make us feel good, right? There are countless situations. Now, are we here to say that these situations are not supposed to happen and that they are wrong, right? Can we control any of these situations? I think most of us will agree that we will try, but we will not be even close to controlling them all. And
Yeah.
to be honest, we probably can't control rarely any of those. So then how are we supposed to feel? Well, the answer is whatever it is that you feel, fully feel it. Because we're a human being, we're supposed to feel. I just got off of a coaching call, just with the class, just about an hour ago. And we were talking about this very subject. And the lesson that I was teaching is feel unconditionally. Just let go of this idea that's supposed to feel good and just start feeling unconditionally. Because when a person starts to feel, then if something bad is if they're feeling something bad or if they're feeling something uncomfortable, it doesn't matter. Keep feeling it. And what happens is that uncomfortableness that they're feeling is either something that is new, right? That it's not something that they're used to feeling.
Yeah.
But the the interesting thing, one of the most biggest conceptions about emotions and about the way we operate, everybody wants to feel happy, feel peaceful, grateful, compassionate. The biggest conception is that we're supposed to create it, right? How many times do people go, "Oh, I'm gonna try to feel happy, right? I'm gonna try to feel more grateful. I'm gonna try to this." I did the same thing, and that's not the way you do it.
It's almost a little self-harming, because it's kind of like attacking the place that you're at. It's like, this isn't good enough. I'm going to bolster against it by imagining myself in this more happy, you're like distancing yourself from what's actually there, which is kind of, it's a little aggressive.
Yeah, right. It's what somebody should realize that is that these things that we all want, like love and peace, it's inside of us already. And to feel it, we just need to let go of what's blocking it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the stress, the worry, the fear, the anxiety, whatever emotions there. If we fully feel it, it would go away. It would allow
Yeah.
it to release. And
Yeah.
then when it releases, what we want to feel will automatically show up. And when that happens, remember we're talking about the change in energy. Now the energy in our body circulates because that fear, all that stuff that we didn't feel, that's the blockage of energy. A person who's in a rut, what happens is they are either A, not feeling their body fully and they're just in their head complaining, or B, they are feeling their body and they're in their head complaining. And
Yeah.
But if they were just to, and here's for you guys listening, okay, this is the secret, right? Here's all you have to do, okay? People pay me thousands and thousands to learn this one thing, okay? Fully feel your emotions, fully feel your feelings. Don't judge them. Don't make any stories about them. Just feel. And when the stories come up, which they will, bring your attention back to your body and feel. And keep feeling until that feeling, that uncomfortable feeling, is gone. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. It could be 20 minutes, it can be 2 hours, it could be days. If you want to get rid of it, just feel it until it's gone. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And then that's the solution. And suddenly all of the fear and all that stuff that causes the ruts, they go away. Because the ruts are just caused by emotions of fear and worry and stress, which then affects the mind. So when we release it from the body, our mind clears up, we become confident, we believe in ourselves, and then we go after the things that we really want in our life. And that's it.
Yeah, I love it. It reminds me, I'm a body worker, I'm a massage therapist, and oftentimes what helps people's bodies unwind is by applying a firm, constant pressure. It's like bringing attention to the part that hurts. And it's the same exact thing with the mind, right? And I find I've kind of made this comparison, like sometimes when you get angry, it has to, like, you feel that really intense burning energy. And a lot of people end up expressing it, often in unhealthy ways. They'll go punch a wall or they'll go scream or you take it out on somebody else. And they're like, but that's like me moving it, right? Like, that's me feeling it. That's what it feels like to do. But what I've realized is that that's like a pressure release valve, which actually, again, distances you from the experience. You're trying to get one over it, you're trying to manipulate it to be lessened. Whereas if you really learn how to just sit like a warrior and just face it and just feel that full thing, even if you have to grit your teeth and clench your fists, just doing anything to like keep it in, you actually start to see the way in which it dissipates, which is much different than just pressure release valving it. It dissipates more organically and actually turns into a wisdom. There's actually something to be learned from those energies as well. And whether it's like self aggression, which also has an intelligence to it. When you're beating yourself up, there is a slight essence of observation. It's just all the story we put over it becomes this flurry, like a storm. But really, at the heart of it is like an actionable step that you can take toward wholeness. But we can't get that if we're trying to get rid of it so quickly.
Well, and the way that you were describing about the expression of, like, hitting a wall or being really angry, it creates a temporary release of energy, which is why people do it. But the act of expressing that creates more of it. Mm-hmm. Right? So when somebody's angrily punching at a wall or angrily screaming, they're like, oh, I feel better when I scream. Okay, but the behavior of screaming, were you emotional? Yeah. Oh, okay, so you do this emotional behavior, and then every time when you are feeling emotional, you do an emotional behavior, which then creates more emotion. Mm-hmm. So therefore, how do you ever get away from it? Your act of expressing creates more of the thing that you're trying to get rid of. Right. So that's the issue. So like what you mentioned, right? It's exactly right. Somebody needs to actually feel into it, and they don't express the emotions. They release the emotions. It's very, very different. The analogy that I like to use is like, imagine a gun. And this gun, it's got bullets in the chamber, loaded. Now, if these bullets were like the emotions in our body, and I want to get rid of these emotions, what would I do? Now, if I had a gun, I can go ahead and get rid of these 8 bullets by firing 8 times, and then the bullets are gone out of the gun. Or I can open up the chamber and I can release 8 bullets out from the chamber, and then the bullets are gone. Both of them will empty out the gun right now, but the outcome is very different to fire 8 times versus to take out 8 bullets by removing the chamber. And this is what happens when we are experiencing these emotions instead of directing this emotion towards somebody by doing some behavior towards something, instead fully feel it, and by feeling it we will release the emotions from our body and our mind will start to clear. This way we don't create any collateral damage like how we would
Yeah.
shoot at things, and you
Yeah.
don't want to release your emotions at somebody. That's going to come right back to you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I love that analogy. Yeah, I think that there's something, when we talk about releasing, and for us as people who have like practices or other people who have practices, they can maybe get like a strong sense of how that functions. But I wonder if people who have no experience of really like how, when you're in that peak moment, like how do you really allow these things, because they're powerful energies, and
Mm-hmm.
something that's coming through right now is what I found to be really beneficial is like, again, like in order to release something, like you have to almost release your attachment to having kind of an opinion of it. So oftentimes the reason that we don't want to feel angry is we don't see ourselves as angry people, but allowing and being gentle with the fact like anger is present. We can work on our attachment to being a certain way, which creates a lot of space for the thing to exist and then dissipate, rather than like hyper fixating, like, well, I really have to release this. Mike's telling me if I don't release this, I'm going to shoot somebody and there's going to be, but it's like allowing all of the energy of being human to be present. That just creates this huge open space that allows it to arise and then dissipate and not have the extra invested energy. Does that track, or does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense. um, when I look at this question, I think, how do we help somebody be able to do this? I realized it's like if somebody asks you, go, hey Brett, go ahead and dance like a ballet dancer. Jump on your toes and do that little spin and do the all the moves. Do you think you'll be able to do it? Right.
That might be for like a premium episode. That's when I get my Patreon moving. People can tune in, and yeah, someone's got to pay for that.
Now, I don't know if you can. You might just surprise me, and you're like, "Well, Mike, there's a lot
Yeah.
of hidden talents you didn't know." And let me put on my outfit,
Yeah.
tutu, and
Yep.
so
Yeah.
um, well,
The answer
but
is
if you're
no. Just
okay,
yeah, be fair with you.
was waiting.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me that, it would be the
Yeah.
same answer for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So, but the reason why we can't do it is, right, not because we don't have the capacity to get better. I mean, I'm sure we can get better. Can we become really, really good? That's a different story. But we can get better, right? We can practice and learn. But if we haven't learned, if we haven't practiced day in and day out, then how are we supposed to be able to do that? Right? It's like it would. The toes just don't work in that way. I just don't have that gracefulness. Now, if we look at releasing emotions from the body, if we look at feeling the body and holding the attention in the body, and we look at it in the same way, just because we have the capacity to feel doesn't mean that we know how to feel very well.
Mhm.
Just like a ballet dancer spins, I think everybody can kind of do a little spin, but if you want to spin like a ballet dancer, it's a little bit different. And
Yeah.
everybody can feel, but if you really wanted to fully feel, to release emotions, you're not going to be able to do it well unless you've practiced a lot. And unfortunately, we live in a society where, I don't know about you, but my parents never had this conversation with me of, hey, Mike, when you're feeling bad, you need to fully feel, sit with that anger, relax. That's never, ever happened. And I know a lot of people that never had that conversation with their parents. They never grew up learning any of these things. So we as adults have spent decades doing the exact opposite. The most natural thing. If I don't feel good, if I get scared, if I get stressed, I tense up. And
Yeah.
the last thing I want to do is to feel bad, feel angry. I don't want to feel it. I'd rather feel good. So I suppress those uncomfortable feelings. I block them out. I try to do the opposite. I take my attention and try to place it somewhere else. So I don't be present with those feelings. And so now when we're having this conversation and we go, hey person, go ahead and feel your feelings. They're going to mostly have a hard time doing so because they've never practiced.
Yeah.
So then I had this struggle myself. Yeah, I was a very fitness person. I've worked out all my life, so I would be considered to be really, really in shape. Now, feelings, the ability to feel the body, is an entirely different um, skill set. It's entirely different. I couldn't feel my body, barely at all. I can control my muscles, but I couldn't feel the feeling in my body. I've suppressed it for so long. And I remember sitting there and working on bringing my attention into my body and just trying to connect to myself. And it was like the hardest thing to do. And
Yeah.
I remember times where I felt so frustrated because I didn't know, how to do it. I just kind of tried and just kind of threw something at the wall to see if it sticks. And now, this has been 7 years now. Now there are systems. Like now I'd help people with this. I teach people a system of how to be able to feel, like how to relax. What do you need to do to actually break through the layers of tension in your body so you can condition your body to let go? You see, when a person practices this over and over and over, they start to get better at it. And they start to be able to feel the emotions that's been in the body. And now when they feel it, they can start to release it. That's
Mm.
how we release the blocked emotions from the body, is by feeling it. We cannot release it any other way. When we accept that we're feeling bad, all that is that I am mentally not going to fight and come up with stories and reasons and justifications mentally, right? And so what happens when I don't do that mentally anymore? Maybe I stop having those stories in my mind. So now what happens? Well, now my attention can go from my mind and it can come into the present moment where my body exists and my feelings are here.
Yeah.
So then now we're back into the same thing. But now it gives the capacity for me to feel because, like you mentioned, right? Let's get out of the head, let's accept it. So now my attention is here in the present moment. And when it's here in the present moment, I now give myself the opportunity to feel. But
Mm.
if I haven't practiced it enough, it's a struggle. And
Yeah.
if I am trying to feel and I can't feel, it could feel frustrating. Then what happens when I'm frustrated? Thoughts come up in my mind. My attention goes from the present moment back into my mind, and I start to complain and I start to think, why ain't this happening the way I want? I want something different. I wish this and I wish that. And now we're back in the head again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think it's important to hold a long view with this kind of work. I think a lot of people, especially here in the United States and other Western countries, we've really developed this transactional relationship with reality where we want it now and we want to get it out of the way so we can focus on like the next thing. But, I feel like with something like this is a lifelong practice, and I'm sure even you who does like every day, there's still always work to be done. And that's what I find to be interesting as somebody who has all these different practices and different channels to express this is that it even for me like at the peak of where I'm at, there still is a sense of like I am in the unknown. I still have so much to work with and there's so much like path left to be walked, and like that actually is a sign of like being on the path is like recognizing where to go next. So I just want to encourage people who are in that position who might be feeling a little frustrated. Like, again, the frustration has a wisdom in it and a path like quality. And as long as we can learn how to, even just, if the frustration is there, it's there. It doesn't need this extra deliberation. It doesn't need this extra story. It's a part of your present moment. And you can actually even drop into that and use that as a means to be present. It doesn't have to be this,
mm,
I got to get rid of this thing so that I can finally be here. It's like that is here. And if you can just like expand your awareness, not just in your thoughts, but also within your entire capacity of your body, then you can hold even that, and it can be healing.
You know, I found a way to be done with the healing journey.
I love it. Yeah. I use that term and I really don't often because I find it to be, again, just such a consumer focused, you know.
And
Yeah, please let me hear it.
this is something that I looked for about since February 8th, 2015. I accidentally found it 10 months ago.
Accidentally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
can't, I'm not going to take any credit for it because I did not do it purposely. I will tell you if I did. I did a lot of things purposely. I did not find this purposely. Just like what happened to me February 8th, 2015. That was not my doing as well. And what I discovered is that this whole time I'm looking for a way to stay in this peaceful state. I'm looking for this way to be in the flow, to be authentic, to express how I want to express, and not be in my head, and not have doubts, and be fully confident, and all of these things. And I can do it sometimes, and then sometimes I'm not in it. And sometimes I'm close, and then sometimes I'm out. And I'm like, man, what is going to get me to stay in it? And so I've worked and I tried all these things, and I have a idea, of what to do, but somehow it didn't work. So, I have my son that I mentioned earlier. Right? He's 8 months old, and so what I'm going to share with you guys that have listened this far, I can promise you that you're not going to hear this very often, really, because most people in the personal development space isn't going to talk about this. This is a stage that happens when you go deep enough. Okay, but if you can accomplish what it is I'm about to tell you, you will reach the end. And when I say the end, I say it in a way to where the end of a certain level before you can go into deeper stuff. But this end will help you accomplish peace, love, gratefulness, all these things that everybody's striving. Here's how you do it. So 10 months ago, right, my wife is 7 months pregnant. And I've been, as you know, I've been teaching this practice, this Flow 60 practice to students, and I share it, but I wasn't fully going at it, not like my capacity. When I was when I built the Six Pack Shortcuts business, and I was really working it. Right now, this time around, I wasn't doing it. Right? Yeah, I'm working a little bit here and there, but it wasn't like how I knew I could. But I didn't want to. I wanted to live life in a certain way. I didn't want to, live off a schedule. I wanted to feel free. I wanted to have, the ability to travel. I had a lot of preferences. I had a way of living that I wanted to do. And you'll notice how I keep saying I, because I'm having this conversation with her. We're sitting down. So she's 7 months pregnant. We're sitting on the ground, and we're talking, and she's like, Mike, so when are you gonna do these things that you're gonna do? Because I was telling her, here's our plan. We're gonna do this, this, and this. And she looks at me. She goes, well, you've been telling me this for years. So when are you gonna do it? And I remember I opened my mouth, and words was about to come out, and then nothing. And I just opened my mouth, and then I closed my mouth. And I just kind of sat there in silence for maybe about 15 seconds. And there was just this deep sense of like, I don't even know what the right word is, but I remember what I responded with. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And that was it. I didn't say anything else. That was the end of the conversation. And after that, all I focused on was, what do I need to do to go ahead and teach this practice, get this business up and going, everything of what it takes, which I knew what it took, which is why I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I just focused on it, and I stopped thinking about myself. I stopped thinking about what I preferred. I stopped thinking about what I liked. I stopped thinking about what my preferences are, what my ideals are, what I felt like doing, how I would imagine my life to be. I stopped all of those things. And the only thing that I focused on was, what needs to happen for me to do this thing, for me to build this company, for me to get this practice out to people. What needs to happen? Do that? Okay, do it. Have that conversation, go do that. Make these calls? Okay, go. And that's what I did. And so my son came out. Even when he came out, we were sitting in our bedroom because we had a home birth, and he was in my arms, and there still wasn't the how I feel. Nope. There was just what needs to happen right now. Okay, hold him. Right? So I'm holding him. Okay, now support my wife. She needs this. Go do that. She needs that. Do that. Okay, carry him. Whoa, this. Do this. Do this. So when people ask me, oh, how did you feel? What were you thinking? My answer is, I wasn't thinking anything. I was just there. Okay, well, how was it for you? It was good. I mean, I don't know. I just did what was needed. Hold the baby, press here, just wipe this, wipe that. Okay, there was no self-awareness. There was no thinking about what my opinions were about the situation. It didn't register. So 2 months later, after he was born, right? So about 4 months after her and I had this conversation, I got so much work done. I progressed so much. And I remember one day going, something's changed. I've never have been this productive. I've never gotten this many things done. I've never been able to do things this fast. I don't hesitate anymore. I realized that. And it was only about 4 months in when I realized it. Up until then, it was just go, go, go. And then suddenly I took a stop and go, wait, something's different. What changed? And I looked and I go, did my practice change? Nope. Did my diet change? Nope. Did my sleep? Nope. Did my social life? No. And I'm like, what changed? And then as I thought, I realized I stopped thinking about myself.
Mm.
And as I started to dive into deeper, all the other dots connected. And then it was this huge epiphany. And I was like, holy crap. What I've been looking for, what I've been learning, now I just connected a whole bunch of dots together. When we let go of constantly being conscious of who we are, constantly thinking about ourselves, having self-consciousness, when we let that go, we stop the source of all problems that we have.
Yeah.
Because all problems come from this idea of personal biasm, personal opinion. I don't like this. Personal judgment. I don't like myself, or I don't like the way I did this. I could have did that thing better, which means I think I didn't do it good. I don't like the way that person did it, right? It's all about me, self-centeredness. And then I realized this is what people mean by selflessness, not the fact that I'm just eager to do things for other people. It wasn't that. It was the fact that I didn't think about myself all the time. Instead, I thought about other people. And when I thought about myself, it was for the sake of doing things for other people. It wasn't for personal gain.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most biggest realizations that I've had, because it allowed me to be in flow. It allowed me to go and do things without hesitation. It allowed me to be confident you see, because the lack of confidence is when we have doubt. But to have doubt, we got to be in our head going, I think that I'm not doing this and this good enough, or so and so may
Yeah.
think this of me. But if I'm not even in my head thinking about myself, then there's no opportunity to have a problem with confidence because there's no opportunity to even create that problem. And by
Mm-hmm.
default, when we just do, automatically the way we act is defined as confidence.
I love that. It's interesting because, I mean, really what you're speaking of is like compassionate service for others. You're acting in a way that like every religion points to. Like it's always one of the key tenets is like be in service of other people, and then you'll know the energy of God or whatever it is that
Mm-hmm.
your prescription is. And I really like the analogy that when the right hand itches, the left hand scratches without any sort of delay. It doesn't like think about it. It's just kind of like, well, obviously that's what needs to happen. So yeah, it's like stepping out from the constant reinforcement of the castle of our selfhood. We go throughout life trying because we have preference for who we want to be, so every choice goes through those filters of like, will this help create the self-image that I view myself as? But when you free up all that energy, then you have the energy to launch your business, take care of your child, do all of these things simultaneously without feeling strained,
Right.
and
And,
feel
and
like,
what you said there of we have these preferences of the way we want to be. So what we do is we let go of wanting to improve.
yes,
We
yeah,
let go of wanting to get better, wanting to improve, wanting to be different. And for somebody who's like really into personal development, it's like, what?
yeah,
My life is about improvement, and being better than I was yesterday. How can you get better if you don't want to get better?
yeah,
Right? So here's what I say to that. We never got better because we wanted to get better. We got better because we took action and we took action repeatedly. That's how we get better at everything.
yeah,
Whatever we want to get better at, nothing happens. But the moment that we take action on anything, we get better, no matter if we even wanted to or not. It's
yeah,
like telling somebody, hey, go jog every day for 10 minutes. And you can tell yourself you don't want to get better at jogging, but I promise you, if you go jog for 10 minutes every day, you get better at jogging. If you go do
yeah,
push ups every day, you get better at push ups. You type every day, your fingers get better at typing.
yeah,
You can't stop it. It's inevitable. It's just a cause and effect. And that has nothing to do with wanting to get better. It has to do with the action. But
yeah,
the but when someone desires to want to get better, aren't they directly saying that they're not good enough the way they are?
yeah. I was gonna point that out too.
Oh,
Even the desire to get better is an expression of the feeling, like, and if you stop expressing that, then naturally what will get better is your contentment, is your ability to just be. Like that is a practice of just being. You know.
yeah. And then, the next thing that usually people say is, well, if if I don't care to get better, then what's going to drive me to go and do things? Because I do things because I want to get better. It's a really valid question. So usually I ask them, I go, well, um, you know, what do you like to do? What do you really enjoy? What do you enjoy doing? And someone goes, well, I enjoy doing things that make myself better. you know, I'm like, okay, all right. Look a little deeper. What is that thing? It's like, let's say for me, I love to exercise. I love to work out, right? So I can say that I work out because I want to make myself better. I want to build these muscles. I want to change my body. Okay, but if you let go of the wanting to get better, do you still enjoy the working out part? And I would say, yeah. Now, for some people, to be honest, they may go, I don't know, because they never
Yeah.
focused on it, right?
Yeah.
It happens. Okay.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Yep.
well, test it out, find out. I asked myself the same question. I came to the same conclusion. I do enjoy exercising. It actually feels good. I like the activity of it, you know? And so now, what's going to drive me to go ahead and do that? Besides the fact that I enjoy it, that I like it, well, maybe you can help other people because your hobby, your passion, whatever it is that you enjoy, it just might be beneficial for other people as well.
Yeah.
Right? So then now our attention is to go and help somebody else, give more value to somebody else. So why do we do something? Not for our own personal gain anymore. Now, do we realize that we will gain? Absolutely. But we don't focus on it. We put most of our focus to serving others. And by doing so, we will gain everything that we've ever wanted and more.
Yep. Yep. That's the real kicker on it. A lot of people are really afraid to let go of that enterprise of reinforcing themselves. It's like, well, what if my life doesn't turn out the way that I want? And I mean, even if I let go of my wants, like they're still there in their seed forms, but then when you actually stop trying to reinforce and refortify, you just get so overwhelmed with blessings. And that's not why we do it, but like that is a part of it, is like you will also be taken care of. When you're serving other beings, you have to recognize like you are also a being and you're still in service of yourself. It's just you've kind of heard a more holistic and sustainable, healthy, mutually beneficial way to do it. And that's to be in service.
Yeah, if we look at energy distribution, if I don't help anybody, then who's the person that I help? Myself. So who's giving me energy? How many people? One. But what if I go help 50 people? Then I give energy to these 50 people, and this energy comes back in some shape or form. It can come back in money, it can come back in opportunities, relationships, connections, information. Some sort of value comes back. Now, what happened if I help 5,000 people? Right now, I got 5,000 people that all wants to give me energy. That's so much more than me giving energy to myself.
Yeah.
So now everything that I want, I can gain. And when we look at that, it's like don't worry about receiving. You're going to receive plenty. All you have to focus on is just helping those 5,000 people. And
Yeah.
those 5,000 people will give you everything that you ever needed and wanted because it comes back.
Yeah.
It'll always come back. You can't even stop it. You can just say, I don't want it. You don't want it. And somebody's going to still trying to find a way to put something in your pocket. Go, no, I'm not going to let you not, not receive
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love it. Well, Mike, this is where we are at for time. I felt like this was a really neat journey from tending to the self, and then this last 20 minutes, just like, how do we be of service? And I feel like every good conversation has that arc. So, yeah, where can people tune in with you? I know you still do a lot of virtual offerings. That's like your primary thing, right?
yes. Best way to find me is on Instagram and on YouTube. They can just type in Mike Chang on YouTube. Instagram would be Mike Chang Official.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we have programs, 60-day programs, very, very interactive, a lot of accountability, a lot of support. And like we mentioned earlier, it's for people that are ready to make a change and ready to connect to their body and feel and change their mindset, change their emotions, because we as a human being are operating on all three levels, and so it's important to develop all three, and that's what we do, and our students are experiencing a lot of massive changes. I have to note this. If you want to, if you're not ready to dive in, if you're not ready to feel what's really there, this is not for you.
Yeah.
People were crying in the last session. Literally almost like over half the class was crying,
Wow.
because there was emotions there. So what happens? Well, let's release it, you know So if somebody goes, I want to join because only want to feel good, you may want to join something else. But if you're ready to go and really dive in and release whatever is there, you know, then this is something you could want to check out.
Almost thought that they might be crying because you had them do the 5-minute push-ups or the 5-minute burpees. I'll never forget having to do that, and I was crying for maybe different reasons.
No, they feel pretty pumped up usually after that.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I
Yeah.
can't believe I made it. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Well, I also do want to just offer another thank you because, I found your program in 2020 during the pandemic. It was a little bit after I had been working out with a trainer, and then that had to stop. Again, you were my first episode, and I really attribute to you my ability to actually maintain consistent practice. So I just wanted to offer my heartfelt thank you for introducing me to deeper breathing. I had a little bit of meditation, but incorporating that, and really just strength training, which is all things that I've developed quite a bit the past couple of years. So I just wanted to also offer that to you, that it was really impactful for me when I was participating. So yeah, that's my seal of approval for anybody listening. Mike knows what he's talking about. So yeah.
Thank you, Brett.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Well, we will catch you next time. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You too. Yeah. Good chatting.
Yeah, you too. Okay, that was the episode. Thank you so much for listening all the way through until the end. You really are the VIPs of this show. If you want to support Mike or just plug in and support yourself by plugging in, head on over to flow60.com and get signed up for his January 25th starting day. That's 60 days of training, 60 days of content. I promise you by the end of that, you will be in a different place. That was my experience. So that is the real deal. If you want to support this show, you can subscribe over at patreon.com/21st Century Vitalism, or just send me a one-time donation over at Venmo at Brett-Kane-1. And sharing this episode and following us on social media is huge. So I appreciate you very much. All right.